Can you attend the funeral of someone who's not actually dead? What if everyone around you believes they've passed, but they're still alive? In this darkly humorous tale, John Mortonson finds himself in a perplexing situation that challenges everything we know about life and death. Tune in to John Mortonson's Funeral by Ambrose Bierce, reimagined in English, only on Classic Storytime Hub. Before we dive in, subscribe for your daily stories. Now, let's go. John Mortonson was gone. His life, his tragedy had played out to its final act, and now he had left the stage for good. His body lay in a fine mahogany casket, the lid crafted with a plate of glass that revealed his serene face to the world. The funeral arrangements were meticulous, as if the deceased himself had planned every detail from beyond the grave. The expression on his face was oddly calm, almost as if he had slipped away in peace. The faint, almost imperceptible smile made it clear that death had been painless, and his features were untouched by any final struggles. The undertaker had done his work well, leaving behind a face unmarred by suffering. The clock ticked towards 2 o'clock, the appointed time for mourners to arrive and bid farewell to the man who no longer had any use for their tears or respect. Family members trickled in, one by one, each coming to stand by the casket, their eyes locked on the glass, their grief spilling out in quiet sobs. They wept for the man who could not hear them, whose journey had ended. Their tears did nothing to revive him, nothing to heal their hearts, but in the presence of death, what could reason or philosophy offer? The air hung heavy with an unspoken question. What had truly been lost here? As the clock inched closer to 2, the mourners began to trickle in. Each of them, dressed in the somber black of grief, offered their polite words of comfort to the grieving family, their voices low, their hands stiff with the weight of social obligation. They took their places around the room, their posture a subtle assertion of their role in this ritual, so crucial, so necessary. They were the witnesses, the ones who mattered. Then came the minister. A heavy hush fell over the room as he entered, a man of solemn bearing, whose presence seemed to dim the air itself. The lesser mourners receded into the background, their significance lost in the shadow of his authority. The widow followed closely behind him, her grief a visible storm. She moved to the casket with slow, deliberate steps, her face drawn in anguish. For a long moment she pressed her forehead against the cool glass, as if trying to touch the lifeless man inside, to somehow hold on to the fleeting echo of what had once been. The minister, his voice steady but heavy with the weight of sorrow, began his eulogy. His words floated in the room like a melancholic tide, rising and falling, stirring the silence with their sorrow. His voice seemed to blend with the quiet sobs that filled the air, each tear a note in the grim symphony that played out before them all. Outside, the sky mirrored the mood inside. A dark curtain of clouds stretched across the heavens, and the first drops of rain fell, soft, mournful, like nature itself was grieving the loss of John Mortonson. The room, the world outside, seemed to hold its breath, as if everything, every living thing shared in the sadness that had descended. When the minister's voice finally fell silent, the last echo of his prayer lingering in the air, the mourners rose to sing a hymn. The somber melody hung like a veil over the room, wrapping everything in a quiet reverence. As the final notes drifted into silence, The pallbearers, stoic and solemn, took their positions beside the coffin, ready to bear John Mortonson's body to its final resting place. The widow, her grief still raw and uncontained, dashed toward the casket. Her hands trembled as she pressed them against the cold wood, her cries breaking through the silence like a dam suddenly giving way. Her sobs were wild, desperate, as though she could will him back from death with her mournful wail. But as time passed, the storm of her emotions began to subside, her sobs turning to quieter, controlled weeping. The minister, ever the steady guide, moved to lead her away. Yet in that moment her gaze fell upon the face of the dead man beneath the glass. Her breath caught, her body stiffened, and then, with a sudden, tortured shriek, she threw her arms wide as if to flee from the truth she had just discovered. She collapsed, fainting into the arms of those who rushed to catch her. A sharp, collective gasp rose from the room as the mourners surged toward the coffin, their eyes wide, mouths agape, their fear palpable. The clock on the mantel struck 3 with a deep, resounding chime, an eerie marker of the moment. All eyes were fixed on John Mortonson, his face now revealed to them in full. The room swayed around them as the horror settled in. One man, overwhelmed by the sight, stumbled backward, his body recoiling in terror. His shoulder struck the coffin with such force that one of its fragile supports snapped. The casket toppled, and in an instant the glass shattered, sending sharp fragments across the floor with a deafening crash. But it wasn't the face of death that greeted them through the splintered glass. From the wreckage of the coffin, a pair of eyes gleamed. Then a small, fur-covered creature crawled out. It was John Mortonson's cat. With languid movements, it stretched, flicking its tail, and then, with a nonchalant air, wiped its crimson-streaked muzzle with a delicate paw. Without a second glance at the room frozen in horror, the cat padded quietly across the floor and out the door, as though nothing unusual had occurred at all.
And thus the story ended. If you liked this journey into the worlds of classic literature, do not forget to support us by subscribing so we can tell you more. And hey, if there's a classic tale you'd love to hear told in this suspenseful style, drop its name in the comments below. Your suggestion might be our next chilling adventure.